What's going on, guys? I hope you're doing well. Today we got the Napoleonic campaign continued. Napoleon crosses the Alps, the road to Marengo. Kind of excited about it, not gonna lie. I've tried to record this video a couple times already. Been sneezing, got allergies. Hopefully this time it's gonna go well. Now, we already know a lot about Napoleon. We know a ton about what's happened up to this point. Make sure you've watched all the videos chronologically up to this point. If you're new here, it's important, get context, right? If you haven't subscribed yet, I implore you to do so. But let's just jump into it, shall we?
1800, and France has a new leader. 30-year-old first consul, Napoleon Bonaparte.
30. Crazy.
5 months have passed since the Brumaire coup cast France's directory into the dustbin of history. In its aftermath, Napoleon has skillfully outmaneuvered his co-conspirators. And in a new constitution, confirmed by a massively rigged referendum, he's been confirmed as first consul. Alongside new consuls, Cambaceres and Lebrun.
LeBron? Okay, so we got 2 different consuls than Sayes and Decaux.
Napoleon wields enormous executive power and is eager to use it. First, he offers an amnesty to royalist rebels in the Vendée, helping to pacify the region and freeing up troops. Then he creates a new national bank to restore confidence and growth to France's dysfunctional economy. He strengthens the gendarmerie, the paramilitary police, and orders it to take ruthless action against bandits who infest the French countryside.
Good things.
And he transforms French government, personally appointing prefects to govern every French département, as well as sub-prefects and even the mayors of larger towns.
I mean, this is really good political stuff right here.
Each achievement is trumpeted by the few newspapers still allowed to print, and which are now entirely under state control.
That I don't like that part about it.
But there is no reason to doubt Napoleon's immense popularity, and that his remarkable energy has begun to drag France out of chaos and torpor. However, his reputation has been forged in war, and with France facing another military crisis, he must quickly turn the situation around, or his rule could end as suddenly as it began.
I offered peace to the Austrian emperor. He did not wish it. We now have to take it by the throat.
France is threatened on 2 fronts by the armies of Austria, which has 200,000 men in the field.
They're not playing around this time, are they? Previously, remember we were watching in the Italian campaign, 10,000 here, 10,000 here, 10,000 at Mantua. That's 200. They're not playing around. They learned their lessons, the Austrians did.
In Germany, France's most powerful force, General Moreau's Army of the Rhine, is poised to launch a counterattack.
It's a ton of people.
Moreau is a skilled commander with influential friends, who had himself turned down an invitation to lead a coup against the Directory. Napoleon, warily respectful for now, offers advice, but will leave Moreau to wage his own campaign.
Okay.
It is in Italy that Napoleon identifies the greatest threat and the greatest opportunity.
Turning the clock back?
3 years ago, Napoleon's stunning victories had left France dominating northern Italy.
But then when he went to Egypt, everybody said, nah, let's just give it all back.
In 1799, forces of the Second Coalition led by the great Russian general Alexander Suvorov, had won a series of crushing victories over the French.
So the Russian general by way of Austria. Okay.
He had then been ordered to Switzerland. But before he could get there, General Massena's victory at Zurich thwarted coalition plans to unite their armies and staved off disaster for France.
That would have been bad, 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 bad.
The unpredictable Emperor Paul, incensed by British provocations, had then withdrawn Russia from the Second Coalition.
Okay.
But nearly 100,000 Austrians remain in northern Italy, under the aggressive and able leadership of General Melas. French forces, on the other hand, are scattered, outnumbered, and desperately short of supplies. It's nothing new for France's army of Italy. But even the arrival of the great General Massena to take charge barely lifts morale. It is a fragile position, but secretly, Napoleon is planning a grand strategic maneuver to turn the tables on the Austrians and crush Melas's army. At Dijon, he has begun to assemble a new army of the reserve under the nominal command of General Berthier.
Okay. We know him.
Veterans and conscripts alike are scraped together from depots, provinces and garrisons, until a force of 60,000 men has been gathered.
Okay, they got some men now.
A more cautious strategist may have chosen to reinforce Massena from the west, using established supply routes to shore up the front.
They're still outnumbered, right? Unless that 60,000 doesn't include Massena's men.
But driving the enemy back on his own supply depots is likely to lead to stalemate. Instead, Napoleon plans to swing south through the Alps mountains and emerge behind General Melas, cutting off his supplies and his escape.
Smart.
It is among the most daring strategic plans in history. But it will depend on secrecy and surprise, a swift and safe passage through the mountains, and for Massena to hold the line in Italy as long as he can.
Okay.
But while Napoleon's army is still assembling in France, Massena comes under heavy attack.
And I'm guessing we got British in the Gulf.
The 6th of April, General Melas launches an offensive. While General Ott makes a diversionary attack on Genoa, his main force moves to cut the coastal road at Savorna, driving a wedge between General Suchet's forces and General Massena. The French launch desperate counterattacks to break the encirclement, and General Soult wins a brilliant local victory over Ott at Montefache. But the French are heavily outnumbered.
I mean, they need Bonaparte, like, now. Now they need him right now.
After 2 weeks hard fighting, Massena is forced to withdraw into the city of Genoa,
Now they're being sieged.
where he is besieged by land and sea.
So we saw this when we were watching Acre during the Egyptian campaign. The French were trying to siege, but the British still had the sea because, of course, naval superiority. Here it's same thing, naval superiority. So this time, this is a true siege, and a true siege means there's no way in, no way out unless you fight. So not good. Very desperate now.
General Suchet is harried all the way back to the Var River on the French frontier.
Wow.
News of the army of Italy's defeat disturbs Napoleon. He is relying on Massena to fix Melas's attention. If Genoa falls before he arrives in Italy, he will be a sitting duck, trapped between the Austrians and the mountains.
I mean, I think Massena's in a worse position, honestly, than Napoleon would have been.
On the 6th of May, Napoleon travels to Geneva to join the Army of the Reserve
60,000.
and order the offensive to begin.
Here we go. An army can pass always, and at any season, wherever two men can set their feet. Meaning, like, as long as we can traverse these mountains, we can pass. No worries.
The Alps. 500 miles long, more than 100 miles wide. Their highest peaks more than 15,000 feet.
Now, let's set some context here. They didn't just go like over the mountain. They didn't scale it. They're not backpacking across this. They're not climbing a mountain like you see people climb mountains. They're most likely going on a preset road because, you know, for thousands of years people have traversed these mountains. So there are roads through these mountains. That is what they're doing. The problem is there's narrow roads. It's unpredictable. The elements, the avalanches, the conditions, and because these roads are more than likely more narrow, you're not going to be able to pass as fast as like you would through the country where you can go like 10 to 20 men wide versus through a mountain, you're probably only going to be able to like go 5 men wide, if that.
They can be traversed by several well-known mountain passes.
Okay, I should have just waited. That's what it shows.
But these are narrow, winding trails, vulnerable to avalanches, with no fodder for horses and mules.
I promise you I didn't watch this prior. That was just my guesses.
It's a daunting challenge for an army of 50,000 with 40 guns.
I thought it was 60,000.
And hundreds of wagons.
What do we do with the other 10K?
Napoleon has decided the bulk of his forces will cross at the Great St. Bernard Pass, at an elevation of 8,100 feet.
And oxygen's gonna be low too, so it's harder to breathe.
On the 15th of May, General Lannes and his advance guard begin the climb. Even in late spring, the mountains are blanketed in deep snow.
Yeah.
To reduce the risk of avalanche, they march at night and early morning.
Why does that reduce the avalanche? The time of day?
A strict silence is enforced. The only noise, the howling wind and crunching snow. The barrel of each cannon weighs around half a ton.
1,000 pounds. It's a lot of weight to put on something like snow.
General Marmont, commanding the artillery, comes up with the idea of laying them in hollowed-out tree trunks.
Sleds!
So they can be hauled like sleds.
Yeah. Smart. Smart.
Lannes' advance guard snakes up the 8-mile trail. It's 5 hours of grueling uphill marching.
Can you imagine 5 hours? Like, guys, go to the gym right now, work out for an hour on an incline, like set the treadmill on the highest incline, and then do that for 5 hours, but also tell them to crank the temperature to 0 degrees Celsius.
At several points, the men are close to mutiny. But they make it. At 8,100 feet, they reach the summit of the pass and the St. Bernard Hospice, where food and rest has been prepared.
Wow.
The rest of the army completes the crossing over the next 10 days. It is a testament to General Berthier's planning that just 5 men and a single cannon are lost.
Not bad.
Contrary to Napoleonic propaganda, the first consul made the crossing on a sure-footed mule, trailing the army.
Bro, it shows him wearing like shorts here. There ain't no way.
Rather than leading it on a charger. Lannes' advance guard presses forward into the Aosta Valley. They sweep aside small Austrian outposts, then surprise and scatter a whole battalion at Châtillon.
How much is in a battalion? How many people's in a battalion?
But a nasty surprise awaits at Fort Bard. The fort, held by the indomitable Captain Bernkopf and 400 troops, dominates the pass with its heavy artillery. Infantry and cavalry can skirt around it by means of a goat path, but artillery and wagons will be seriously delayed until Fort Bard is taken. A first assault by French grenadiers fails, with 200 casualties.
Jeez.
The fort remains defiant, and for Napoleon, the clock is ticking.
Because Massena's under trouble.
In Italy, the French position is increasingly desperate.
Look how far they are and like how much they have to go through. Like, look at that. Like, how do you get to Messina? The best thing you can do is cause so much uproar that people call off some of the siege, as they did. Napoleon had to call off the siege of Mantua. It's got to be a parallel situation.
On the 15th of May, the garrison of Savorna surrenders.
Now that
In
troop's going to
Genoa,
go to...
Massena conducts a brave and active defense. Though in one sortie, General Soult is badly wounded and captured. But now, starvation looms. There are already reports of cannibalism.
And usually what happens with cannibalism, they don't just... Now, I'm not going to just speak for like I know, but I'm just going to say usually when you hear the word cannibalism, it's people that are already gone that they eat, not people. But I don't know.
Napoleon cannot wait for Fort Bard to fall. The army must push on without its guns and baggage, and hope to capture supplies from the Austrians.
Yep.
On the 23rd of May, Lannes attacks the enemy at Ivrea, taking the town and citadel. 3 days later, he defeats General Hadig near the village of Romano. The Austrians fall back on Turin. With 30,000 French troops now pouring into Lombardy, Napoleon has done it. He has completed one of the most famous marches in history.
Without his guns, though. So, like, let's give him credit, but let's give him an asterisk, too.
Italy is wide open, and the Austrians are scrambling to respond.
We have struck here like lightning! The enemy can hardly believe it.
Mélas quickly grasps the significance of Napoleon's maneuver. He immediately recalls Elsnitz's corps from the French frontier and sends his forces to guard the River Po crossings. He assumes the French will march to relieve Genoa. But despite the desperate plight of Massena and his starving garrison, Napoleon turns east, towards Milan.
Uh-oh.
General Vukasovic holds the city, but heavily outnumbered, he retreats towards Mantua.
Uh-oh.
On the 2nd of June, Napoleon enters the capital of Lombardy. But unlike the celebrations of 1796, this time, French troops are received in cold silence.
Wonder why that is.
Locals have not forgotten Napoleon's brutal crackdowns of the past.
That's why.
Regardless, in Milan his army can finally rest and requisition much-needed supplies.
Is his gun still chilling in the Alps? Like, where your guns at, bruh?
3 days later, reinforcements arrive from the Army of the Rhine, General Moncey's division, which has made its own arduous alpine crossing through the Gotthard Pass. The first consul is on the cusp of achieving his grand encirclement.
Oh.
Back in the mountains, Fort Bard finally surrenders. But its stubborn defense means Napoleon will be short of guns and ammunition in the days ahead.
Yeah.
Then, on the 8th of June, disastrous news arrives.
What happened? Did they surrender?
Napoleon has asked too much of Massena. For weeks, Genoa has been a scene of utter horror. Several thousand civilians have starved to death or died of disease.
Several thousand? No, that's not several thousand. That's a little bit more than 10,000 so far. It's going to keep going, too.
Along with 4,000 French soldiers.
That's not several thousand. That's 20,000 people.
General Massena, his own health broken, and furious at Napoleon's failure to relieve him, negotiates an honorable surrender, which will allow his surviving troops to return to France.
Hunger. Hunger changes your psyche. Hunger discharges loyalty.
The fall of Genoa frees Ott and 12,000 soldiers to march north to join Melas. Napoleon is determined that the Austrians will not now slip past him and escape his trap. And so he divides his army to cover all possible routes east. For once, it is Napoleon's forces that are overextended. And it is Lannes's advance guard that will pay the price. With 7,000 men, Lannes has secured a bridgehead across the river Po, near Belgioioso.
Oh, he's gonna get surrounded because you got the people coming east now. Not gonna end well for him.
On the 8th of June, he presses forward, intending to drive the enemy from the Stradella defile. But unknown to Lannes, he is on a collision course with General Ott's division, marching north from Genoa.
Yep.
He is about to stumble into a battle, outnumbered 2-1.
Uh-oh. Bones cracked in my division like glass in a hailstorm. What a metaphor. Or simile.
On the morning of the 9th of June, Lannes's advance guard fights a running battle with what it believes to be an isolated Austrian unit, driving it back towards the walled town of Casteggio. In fact, it is General Ott's advance guard. What rolling hills and tall rye fields hide from view is the rest of Ott's command, 16,000 strong, following up close behind.
I wonder if the Austrians that are retreating know that they're about to be saved.
Around noon, the French spot Austrian infantry holding a ridge to the south. Assuming it's the enemy rearguard, Lannes orders a brigade to swing round and attack. Meanwhile, his cavalry continues to Casteggio.
They're gonna get routed now. I don't know what's gonna happen. They'll probably have to surrender.
They scatter the enemy in their path and break into the town, only to be surprised and countercharged by a much larger Austrian cavalry force.
Wow.
On the heights, the French make steady progress, until 4,000 Austrian reinforcements hove into view. Soon, Lannes' men are being pulverized by artillery fire. His force is hard-pressed everywhere, and still, enemy reinforcements continue to arrive.
This is a much different Austrian army than we saw a few years ago.
But Ott is cautious and holds back a large reserve. The broken ground leaves him unsure of enemy strength, and he has orders not to be drawn into a major battle.
How?
At 2 p.m., Lannes receives his own reinforcements. 6,000 men of General Victor's division.
And I bet you the Austrians should have just
Lannes
went full on.
no time. Victor's 43rd line renews the attack on the right. The Austrian line buckles, falling back to a small stream. The rest of Victor's men race towards Casteggio. Under a hail of cannon fire, their advance stalls. But the 6th Light Infantry is able to cross the Coppa River to the north. Around the same time, French infantry take Casa il Giardiana, splitting the Austrians in two. Fearing he will be outflanked, General Schellenberg, commanding the Austrian centre, orders a slow withdrawal. Seeing this, Lannes sends the 96th Line forward to storm Casteggio. With his men tired and darkness falling, Ott orders a retreat to Voghera.
I mean, that was a win by the French. I, originally thought that the French were going to get routed there, but the conservativeness of Ott allowed for reinforcements on the French side, and here we are. They got outplayed.
The Battle of Montebello, as it becomes known, was a hard-fought soldiers' battle, in which French determination triumphed in the face of Austrian numbers and artillery.
Not even. That's a French W.
As Napoleon inspects the battlefield, he is greeted by an old friend, General Louis Desaix, who has escaped from Egypt during a temporary armistice.
He's like, yo, what's good?
Just a year older than Napoleon, Desaix is another of France's brilliant young generals, who will play a crucial role in the days ahead. He is immediately given command of 2 divisions.
Wow.
Montebello is a glorious victory for Lannes. Napoleon will one day reward him with the title Duke of Montebello. But the larger picture is unchanged. Napoleon still desperately seeks his decisive battle, the victory that may end the war with Austria, and will surely make his position as first consul unassailable. But Napoleon allows fear of the Austrians' escape to dominate his thinking, and once more he divides his forces. Just as Melas is ordering his forces to concentrate at Alessandria.
Dude, look how many people are in Alessandria. That place is a fortress of military.
For battle. Napoleon has misjudged his opponent. He is headed towards a nasty surprise. A bloody battle that will cost him dear and threaten the future of the consulate. Napoleon needed.
That's it, guys. What a cliffhanger. We're gonna have to watch the rest in the next one. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. What do you guys think? I mean, this was a pretty simple episode, just kind of recontextualizing what has happened prior, as well as like showing the Napoleon's march through the Alps, encirclement to the Austrians, as well as the poor Messena guy just couldn't hold out, so he had a discharge. You know, I'm wondering if he had like an escort, because wouldn't it make sense to Messena somehow rendezvous? I guess it'd be just too risky, and it just wouldn't work out that way. But interesting. We're getting into the thick of it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're gonna be in the next one very soon. Peace out. Bye bye.